They say the oldest stories are the ones that crawl out of the ground, the ones whispered around campfires before there were cameras to capture them. Not every zombie tale is fiction. Some of them are warnings. Tonight's story begins at Comic-Con with a dream ticket to a horror fan's paradise. But legends don't care about fan service, and once you step onto the wrong road, you're already part of the ending. Welcome to Whispers After Dark, where shadows speak, and the night listens. Before we begin, tell us your favorite zombie legend or story in the comments. Then like, subscribe, and hit the bell, so you never miss the next tale that refuses to stay dead. Now, let's begin. I signed up for the contest at a Comic-Con booth wedged between a vinyl pop-up shop and a guy selling replica chainsaws from Meat House Massacre 4. The booth had a giant blood-splattered banner that read, "Become a Zombie, Fan Experience Weekend," in dripping red letters. The promo guy was in full undead makeup, half his face latex to the skull, and handed me a flyer with a QR code. "Win a trip to the desert set of the new Mile Marker Dead movie," he said. "You might even get to die on camera." He winked like it was all part of the fun. A month later, an email hit my spam folder. "Congratulations! You're our grand prize winner." There was a signed NDA, a digital plane ticket, and a pickup time for a shuttle. I should have thought twice when I realized the filming location wasn't anywhere near Hollywood, but out in the middle of the Nevada desert. No town, no signal, just a set of GPS coordinates buried in the fine print of the confirmation email. I zoomed in on the map, expecting to see something, anything, but all that showed up was a stretch of pale tan nothingness and a blinking red pin labeled Access Point A. No nearby roads, no landmarks, just cracked earth and heat waves. It looked more like a military testing zone than a movie set. Still, the fan in me was hyped. This was Mile Marker Dead, the zombie road, the comic that started my obsession with horror when I was 12. I bought my first issue from a cardboard box at a garage sale, sandwiched between Old Spawn and Walking Dead knockoffs. The cover was smeared in ink and dirt, but something about it grabbed me. The skeletal trucker in a rotted sheriff's hat standing on an endless road with blood dripping from his fingers like oil. I read it in one sitting and barely slept for a week. It wasn't just the gore, it was the idea behind it. In Mile Marker Dead, the zombies weren't brainless husks. They remembered. Not everything, just enough. Who they were, what they lost, who they blamed. They were drawn to places from their past lives, to people who had wronged them, and they didn't stumble or moan like in the movies. They watched, waited, learned. The comic had this grimy fever dream quality, like it had been written during a heat stroke and printed on old cigarette cartons. The panels bled into each other. Characters disappeared mid-arc. Issue number 7 came with a warning label. Some things don't stay buried. I was obsessed. I collected every bootleg I could find, scoured message boards for hidden lore, even bought a signed poster from an artist who swore the story was based on a real road. So when the email arrived saying I'd won the ultimate fan experience, I didn't hesitate. I figured I'd be background meat for a low-budget Netflix project, maybe get fake-blooded and thrown against a fence while some actor shouted plot exposition. But now, staring at those coordinates, a sliver of unease pushed through the excitement. Why out here? Why no contact number? Why did the directions say, "Do not follow Google Maps"? Use the attached route file only. I brushed it off. Told myself it was part of the immersion, a guerrilla marketing thing. That's what they did now, lure fans in with mystery, make it feel real. But in the back of my mind, something itched, like one of those half-remembered nightmares from the comics, a road with no ending, a voice on the radio that said your name, and a zombie that didn't want your brain, just your face. I landed at a nearly abandoned airport just past dusk. It looked more like a forgotten bus terminal than an actual airport. One rusted gate, 2 vending machines humming off beat, and a ceiling fan that clicked with every rotation like it was ticking down to something. No security, no terminal announcements, just heat rising off the cracked pavement and a faint buzz in the air, like static from a radio that wasn't tuned to any station. A dusty black van rolled up to the curb. No logos, no plates. The windows were tinted pitch black, like it wasn't meant to be seen, either from the outside or the inside. The driver never left the seat, just motioned with a leathery hand for me to get in. I hesitated, only a second, then opened the door and climbed in. There were 3 others already inside, all about my age, all clearly horror geeks like me. One girl sat near the back, earbuds dangling around her neck, and a faded issue number 1 tee half tucked into ripped jeans. She gave me a nod, then went back to scrolling through a page of fan art on her phone. The guy next to her had a ring light clipped to his shirt collar and was live streaming his every blink, narrating the journey into the void to about a dozen chat followers. The last guy, sitting closest to the driver, hadn't said a word. He just stared out the window like he was trying to memorize the desert. For the first hour, we were all smiles and conspiracies, swapping fan theories, wondering if we'd get to meet the original artist, whether this was going to be canon, whether they'd kill us off in issue number 100. We laughed, compared tattoos, shared obscure references only real fans would catch. But then the road started to crack beneath us, literally. The asphalt thinned to gravel, then dust. Cell towers dropped off behind us one by one, and the GPS arrow on my phone started spinning in place like it had given up. Outside the window, nothing but endless desert, scorched scrub, and boulders stacked like burial mounds. The light dimmed unnaturally fast, like sunset had been cut short. The shadows lengthened without warning. Eventually the van pulled up to a gate, if you could even call it that. It was more a patchwork of rusted chain link and barbed wire wrapped around rotting fence posts. A crooked wooden sign hung at an angle above it, swinging slightly in the dead air. Mile marker dead. Filming in progress. Trespassers will be consumed. It should have been funny, a clever nod to the comic's grim humor, but something about the way the last word, consumed, was etched deeper than the rest made my skin crawl. It was getting dark by then. The sky overhead had gone the color of an old bruise, gray-purple streaked with red, and the moon was all wrong. Too low, too red, like it had swallowed the sun and hadn't finished digesting it. I lifted my phone to take a picture, but the screen glitched into vertical green lines before blinking out. When I tapped the power button, the whole device vibrated once, hard, and died. Just dead black glass. And I wasn't the only one. Around me, I heard 2 others curse softly as their phones failed too. They took us to a rusted trailer where racks of clothes hung in the back. Torn shirts, blood-smeared jeans, rotten boots with flayed soles. We were told to change into them, for continuity, and to report to the road just past the trailer. The woman who told us this had no badge, no headset, just a blank stare and a clipboard with no papers on it. We did as we were told. The set was a strip of highway that seemed to vanish in both directions. Just desert, darkening fast, with the occasional wrecked sign jutting up from the sand like broken teeth. A skeletal car sat half buried at the roadside, windshield shattered, door hanging open. Its seats were covered in sun-cracked leather and something that looked like dried blood. A storm drain nearby had a pair of boots beside it, no legs in them. No one mentioned it. There were no cameras, no crew, no boom mics, no lights, just us and the wind, which smelled faintly of copper and rot. I was about to ask what exactly we were supposed to do when I heard it. A scream. Not close, not far, just distant enough to sound wrong. At first, I thought maybe it was part of the show, a pre-recorded sound cue, but then came another one, cut short, wet, like someone trying to scream underwater. That wasn't excitement. That wasn't I'm in a horror movie fun. It was real. Real enough to make the hair on my arm stand up. Real enough to make everyone freeze mid-step. real enough to make us wonder if the experience we'd signed up for wasn't supposed to end. We followed the screams, not because we were brave, because we didn't know what else to do. We were still clinging to the hope that this was all part of the show, some next-level immersive horror thing. Maybe there were hidden cameras. Maybe someone was just really good at faking terror. But with every step, that hope cracked a little more. The sound came from beyond a curve in the road where the pavement had split down the center like a wound. We rounded it as a group, slowly, breath held. That's when we saw her. Liv, the girl in the issue number 1T, lying in the dirt. Her face was pale, mouth twisted open in mid-scream, eyes wide and staring at nothing. Blood, real blood, pooled beneath her shoulder, and her arm looked chewed. Like something had clamped down and torn through flesh with teeth, and standing over her was something I'll never forget. It looked human, mostly, but the skin was tight, leathery, and gray, peeling in places like old wallpaper. Its fingers were too long, bones sharp beneath stretched tendons, and its eyes, they weren't glazed over like a corpse. They burned, glowed almost, orange-red like the coals at the bottom of a fire pit. It smiled when it saw us, not a reflex, not hunger. A smile like it recognized us, like it knew we'd come. Something about it was wrong, uncanny, like the artist's style from the comics brought to life in the worst possible way. Its skin was too smooth in places, too torn in others, like it hadn't decayed naturally but been designed to decay. And its face, God, its face wasn't just monstrous. It was familiar, the lines of its jaw, the slope of its nose. I'd seen that face before. Issue number 14, page 6. A panel where one of the infected rips off his own skin, and what's left keeps crawling toward the reader. I froze. My brain refused to believe it, but my body knew. Every nerve screamed to run. I started backing up, whispering no, 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 like a prayer, like denial had ever saved anyone. The others scattered in all directions. One guy bolted into the desert, stumbling through the sand, his flashlight flailing wildly until it vanished over a dune. The live streamer tripped over broken pavement, fell hard, then screamed into a camera that wasn't recording anymore. The red glow of his ring light blinked once, then went out. I turned to run, but the van was gone. No engine, no taillights, no dust trail, no tire tracks, just empty road behind us. And the red moon above, pulsing like a heartbeat, watching. That's when I heard them. Not from ahead, from beneath. A dry rustling, like dead leaves on a gravestone, followed by the sound of something wet peeling apart. Then movement, just beyond the curve in the sand. Fingers, bones, teeth. One after another, they crawled up through the earth like they'd been buried just below the surface, waiting for the call. They didn't moan. They twitched, snapped, jerked upright like puppets on unseen strings. And they were dressed like us, torn flannels, bloodied jeans, rubber prop knives stuck into plastic wounds. At first, it looked like a mirror image, like some kind of twisted cosplay. But then I saw one of them still wearing a con wristband, another with a half-melted phone clutched in a desiccated hand. They weren't props. They were the ones who came before us, the last batch, still dressed like us, still posed like they'd just arrived before the screaming started. I wanted to run. I wanted to wake up, but I couldn't move. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. My breath caught halfway up my throat, because I understood now. All of it. The fake blood, the silence, the missing van, the vanishing signal. This wasn't a fan experience. It was a feeding schedule. We weren't extras. We were the next course. I don't remember how I got out. There are gaps, whole chunks of memory that feel burned out like scorched film reels. I remember running, the sound of something chasing me that never touched the ground, the feel of hot wind slicing my skin. And then I was just walking, barefoot, staggering along the edge of a desert highway at dawn, the sky dull gray and the moon finally gone. A trucker picked me up near mile marker 13, said I looked like I'd crawled out of a grave. I didn't correct him. My phone was fused shut. My clothes still reeked of iron and rot. The cops took my statement, but not seriously. They found no sign of a set, no gate, no van, no live, not even tire tracks in the sand. They said I'd probably been drugged, that the heat does strange things to the mind, but I know what I saw. I remember that smile. I don't go to cons anymore. I don't open emails I didn't ask for, and I don't drive at night, not on long, empty roads where the moon looks too red and the silence is too perfect. But I'm telling you this because someone else will get the invite. Someone will scan the wrong QR code. Someone will win. And when they do, maybe they'll remember this voice. Maybe they'll think twice before stepping onto the road that doesn't end, the one where the crew's already been eaten, and you are next on the menu. That concludes tonight's story. We hope you enjoyed this terrifying descent into the dark. If you ever get invited to a remote film set in the middle of nowhere, maybe don't get on the van, because some productions don't want actors. They want meat that screams. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and beware of the whispers after dark.